I had a big failure. It cost me 9 years of healing and about 90% of my net worth. And when I got a call from a pretty influential individual, and he said, I want to interview you on failure, and I want you to tell everybody the mistakes you made and how it impacted you. And I did not want to do that. I said, there's no way I'm going to do that. I own a success company. I am not going to tell the world about my failures. And he goes, you need to rethink that because you're successful because you failed. This just happens to be a big one. And I went through everything that was on my heart and all that I had lost, including the death of my wife due to cancer and being a parent, single parent with kids and losing most of my money. And I just spoke from my heart. And one of the questions he asked me, what kept you going? And I said, what kept me going is that my skill did not go away with that failure. Everything I did to that point in time, I can do again, and I can probably do better. That story was the story that needed to be told. And that interview got downloaded to over 5 million entrepreneurs around the world over the next 2 or 3 years. And they all said, thank you so much for giving me permission to understand this is the journey of business. The journey of business is to figure out how not to do it so that you do it right a bigger percentage of the time.
Sounds like you have connected something on the inside where you transformed your disappointment into the cradle of ambition that you needed to climb out of the hole.
I started realizing that vulnerability is very powerful. Transparency is very powerful. And when you've been on some of the biggest world stages, I'm no different than anybody. I just happen to be 4 feet higher in a ballroom telling you my story. And as soon as I got okay with sharing vulnerably my mistakes and the lessons that I learned, and I saw how that connected with people, emotional connection, right? Hey, he's no different than me. We all fail.
When I go back to your disappointment story, where you ask yourself, what has not gone away? My skills. And the skills are your source of confidence. And in a way, what you have done is you've created hope inside your mind.
Whatever people do not want in their life, there's a mindset of a decision where they ultimately say, I am not going to accept that anymore. The acronym for hope is hang on, pain ends. And that's only through principle 1 and principle 2 and principle 3 and principle 4 and ultimately principle 5, which is accountability.
You talked about the mindset. And I think that what is not acceptable is to give in to the automatic negative thoughts that everybody is experiencing.
One change can change everything.
Yeah.
And what people need to realize is if nothing changes, nothing changes. But one day after this business collapse and my wife had passed away and I'm leaning up against the wall and I'm crying. And my 13-year-old comes up to me and he looks at me and he says, Dad, you got to keep going. We need you. The moment was like, that's my why. That's the only thing that matters right now. And then I realized that, and John looks at me and he goes, Dad, just do what you teach people. And I'm looking at my 13-year-old son and I'm in this emotional state. And I go, what's that, John? And he goes, Dad, just keep going. One day at a time. Just keep going. And that to me was the story of hope, that I saw a better tomorrow. As hard as it was, I saw a better tomorrow. And as soon as I saw that, this universe aligned with doors opening that I could have never manufactured. When I look back today, Gerhard, and that story I just told you was 10 years old right now. 10 years old when I finally got out of it. And I look back and go, people go, would you have done that differently? And I say, nope. And they go, why? And I said, because I would have never learned the lessons I learned.
So let's close out with the final principle, which is accountability. It seems to me you accepted your sons as the accountability buddies that you needed in order to lift yourself up. How do you hold yourself accountable today?
My purpose hasn't changed in 30 years. I wake up every day and all I want to do is make a difference. And that can extend everywhere in my life. If I stay healthy and fit, I will likely make a difference longer in my life. If I pay attention to my marriage and I pay attention to serving my wife and having proactive communication and making sure that we follow our rituals of how can we be our best together, then I make a difference in her life. She's a hot second away from finishing a book. And one of the goals in her life is to have done what she is a hot second away from doing. And I've coached her for 7 years on how to get to where she's almost ready to finish this book. She sent me a text today and she said, thank you for making this a possibility for me. All I want to do to my last breath is have one person say, thank you. You made a difference.
Well, thank you, Todd, for being vulnerable, for sharing your success story, sharing your disappointment. You've made so many people's lives better because of what you have learned and what you have taught them.